in the months prior to the election, in the months leading up to the inauguration, we were talking quite a bit about Project 2025 and about Russell Vogt. We did many, many interviews about Russell Vogt. I think even when I headed out to do that Jubilee, which was recorded, I want to say like a week into the Trump administration, everything I was focusing on at that point was Russell Vogt. He has been working his disaster magic, as it were, over the past 8 or 9 months. His role was actually slowed by Doge because Doge was just getting in the way. And he got a little big-footed. But he has now begun to sort of like over the past couple of months really reassert himself within the administration. And it was all of this to anyone without an agenda to pretend that both sides are the same, or anybody who was paying any attention to the way that Republicans have operated for decades. Anybody who had been paying any attention to like what folks like Grover Norquist were saying, like, we just need somebody with a pulse to sign this stuff. We have all the plans. Although Norquist, I don't think, was necessarily involved in Project 2025. He could have been. It was quite obvious. There was a lot of people in the mainstream media who would say, well, Donald Trump says he's not part of Project 2025. I guess we got to believe him.
And he did. He was repeatedly distancing himself from it, despite all evidence showing that, like, he had dozens of former staffers working on it, the entire Republican infrastructure behind it.
Who else was it going to be besides the Heritage Foundation also?
And there were a lot of folks in media who, in the mainstream press in particular, that took the most notorious liar at his word, or at the very least presented it as a both sides issue. And here we are today.
And, the Young Turks did an extended riff on how Project 2025 was just hysterics by liberals, et cetera, et cetera. Welcome to it. Here is a brief clip here. What is this one? Oh, this is
like a compilation of Trump's denials.
Yeah, this is a compilation of Trump's denials about it.
I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it.
Project 2025 is not affiliated with the Trump campaign.
This is a document I know nothing about. It's called Project 25.
I don't know what the hell it is. It's Project 25. He's involved in Project. And then they read some of the things, and they are extreme. I mean, they're seriously extreme. But I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, here's Donald Trump's tweet or truther tweet or whatever it is. I have a meeting today with Russ Vogt, he of Project 2025 fame, to determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are a political scam, he recommends to be cut, and whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent. I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity. They're not stupid people, so maybe this is their way of wanting to quietly and quickly make America great again. President DJT. First off, the fact that he's writing this stuff is a perfect example of how either they were actually sort of like feeding this to Chuck Schumer, and Chuck Schumer was either believing it or he's just sort of like goading Chuck Schumer more. There is nothing that Russ Vogt can do legally to make any cuts that are permanent any more than he could have a week ago. A week ago, he was still making those cuts, and he probably will make them going forward. But none of this has to do with the breakdown. It has to do with the fact that either the Supreme Court has refused to uphold things like the 1974 Impoundment Act or the Constitution or whatnot, whatever authority you want to uphold that Congress has the ability to appropriate funds and that the president doesn't have the ability to not spend them if they are appropriated by the Congress. I mean, you grow up as a child. Yeah, as a child. What is Congress's job? to spend the money. So it's
Power of
quite
the
obvious
purse.
everything they're doing is illegal. Now, Vote has announced the termination of $8 billion in funding for clean energy projects in 16 states, all of which voted for Harris in the 2024 election, all of which I believe are senators who have voted against closing discussion on the motion for the continuing resolution. He has also frozen $18 billion in New York City infrastructure projects, including the tunnel to New Jersey, third tunnel to New Jersey, which is going to come back and bite the Republican in the governor's race. I can't remember his name now. As if his lieutenant governor wasn't doing.
In New
Yeah.
Jersey. Yes.
In New Jersey. But all of this is illegal. And it is exactly, in part, I mean, they're not talking about it, but it's certainly one of the things supposedly that they're looking for in the bill that they promoted, the Democrats. The inability of the president to stop funds from reaching where Congress has said that they should be appropriated, and to permanently put Russ Vogt in his place. Now they're not pushing this at all because I think they're nervous as to why they should. In fact, Murphy from Connecticut was interviewed by Greg Sargent. And he was asked if he privately talks to Democratic colleagues about why they don't sound the alarm loudly, in particular about Russ Vogt, but other things in terms of... Murphy says, yeah, I do. I do bring it up. There's a couple answers, and I'm not the only one talking like this, but I hear a couple of things from my Democratic colleagues. One, it's dangerous to be so alarmist that if you say we're not a democracy anymore, and this is a broader thing about the Trump's authoritarianism, but certainly withholding funds from blue states that you don't like that have been appropriated by Congress is one of these things. That we might not have a free and fair election, for instance. You're actually disincentivizing people from getting involved because it makes them feel hopeless. The second thing I hear about is, well, we ran on democracy in 2024 and we lost. So let's not do democracy. Let's do economics and healthcare. And Murphy says, I'm totally for a focus on economics. I'm a big believer that that Bernie's message, or some version of it, is really the secret sauce. We've got to be a populist economic party, but we'll never be able to raise the minimum wage by $10 if our democracy disappears. So whether or not the polls tell us that everybody in this country believes that democracy is at risk, it is at risk. This is all part of it. And, so... The only thing is, we'll talk to Congressman Bowman about this more in a bit. But if your senator, well, all of your Democratic senators, short of independent Angus King and Catherine Cortez Masto and soon-to-be former Senator John Fetterman, have voted essentially in favor of the continuing resolution. They have voted to close discussion, which opens it up, makes it a 50-50, or I should say a 51-50 is all you need for to pass the bill. Call your senators, tell them to stay strong. Thank you for rejecting the Trump administration, et cetera, et cetera. Right now is a little bit of a carrot time. The stick is also good simultaneously. Sometimes you can use the carrot as a stick because if it's big enough and rigid. But that's where we stand right now. And it is unclear where we go from here. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.